It's like, why is it so difficult to give me a hug? But for the one who is not used to it, it's a big effort.
I want to be loved. I want to be respected. I want to be a somebody, treated fairly, considerately. These are normal human expectations. I want to be happy. So the common problem in relationship is whenever there is a discomfort, disappointment, we try to change the other person first because that's the easiest way. If only you stop doing that one thing, I will be all good.
Hello and welcome to the podcast Living Consciously. I'm Mihaela Nedelaperianu and together with Rajesh Ramani, we are going today to talk about a very hot topic that is on relationships. But before we start, Rajesh, I just want to remind the audience that you are the founder of Mindfulness and Beyond, and people can find out more about your work and your teachings on Mindfulness and Beyond. So please subscribe to Rajesh's channel, and also I can be found with my podcast in Romanian that is called Întrebări care ne schimbă viața. So once we covered who we are, tell us, why is it so difficult for all of us to build fulfilling relationships?
The first thing we need to understand here is relationships are not static, they are dynamic. That is, they keep changing all the time because life keeps changing. Mm-hmm. Life situations keep changing. People's expectations, needs, dreams, everything keeps changing. The major mistake that we do in relationships and which makes it really hard is we get solidified at different points of time. That is, if I get to know somebody, initially there is a lot of interest in getting to know that person.
Okay.
And then slowly we create a certain picture about them. Be it a friend, be it a partner, be it anybody. We create a picture, a mental picture, and then we assign different values, judgments upon that person that we create in our mind.
And expectations.
Mm-hmm. So what happens is we solidify them and then we lose pretty much interest in that person. We try to engage with the person that we have in our mind more than the real person in front of us.
When you say solidifying is, are you referring to give an example? For example, my relationship with you, because
mm-hmm.
it goes, we are talking about relationships in general,
mm-hmm.
right? Mm-hmm. I can have an image mm-hmm. about you that mm-hmm. you are the guru. Mm-hmm. You know, you are holding the truth of everything, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So once I put this label on you, mm-hmm. it's solidifying is that this is Rajesh and I'm not accepting, in my view, any other opinion mm-hmm. about you. Mm-hmm. Like maybe you also have fears, maybe mm-hmm. you are also vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I place you in a spot of God, to say, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And I'm relating to you mm-hmm. based on my perception on you. Mm-hmm. This is what you're saying. Correct. About solidifying. And then I have certain expectations, you to deliver all the answers.
After a point, even if I have changed as a person and not playing to your expectations, you will be disappointed in me. You will be disappointed that you are not what I thought you were. But I cannot be what you thought I was because I'm changing with life. Good or bad, right or wrong, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But we keep changing. So when in a relationship, the relationship stays fresh and relevant only when we constantly recognize where that other person is now. Otherwise, we are relating to a past of them, a past personality or a past part of them, or we are relating to an idea of what they are in our heads. Mm-hmm. So we don't actually talk to the real person. And in many cases, what happens in relationship is people don't even know the real person. And one day it might come to them as a shock. They say like, oh, I never thought you could do this. I never thought you were like this. That's because they didn't notice them. One of my teachers used to say, there is a mug in front of you, and then if you don't notice the mug properly, over time the mug becomes, say, a kettle. And then one day you're so surprised that there is a kettle in this table. The reason is it didn't magically become a kettle overnight. It slowly over time it changed shape and changed shape and shape and shape and shape. But since I always live under an assumption that there is a mug and I'm not paying attention, one day I am really shocked or surprised that there is a kettle. So this is what happens in many of our relationships. We get from the solidified views about the other person, we get stuck in some places and we put pressure on them to either be what we thought they should be, or we put pressure to change them into what we think they should become.
Okay.
And this exerts a lot of pressure and push and pull in relationship, which we call conflict. Why are relationships not working? If you ask a simple question to anybody, they would say like, oh, he's changed, not the way I expected him to be. Or she doesn't change the way I want her to be. Or it is like they promise this to be this all the time, but they are not that anymore. So they are going back on their promises. If you ask the other person, why do you go back on your promises? Say like, oh, I made the promise when I was 22. Now I'm 45. What do you think? That looks silly right now. I'm in a different stage of life. So as we evolve and move through life, relationship also has to evolve and move. But when we get stuck in some places, then there is conflict. Initially, it is slight disappointment. Then with a good humor, we try to change the person. And then after a point, we say like, yeah, I love you so much, but I accept you as such, but I want you to change a little bit. Then slowly it becomes irritability. Then it becomes anger, resentment. Then it goes through different stages. And then at some point, we can't even talk to each other, or we have strong opinions and judgments about each other. So this is how relationships die. So the first point around this is we have to be agile in any relationship. We have to be, if we leave it as such, it will shrink and it will change shapes. So we have to constantly be aware, constantly watchful about how this relationship is panning out. So going back to your first point, is it hard work? Yes, but not in the way we expect. We think it is hard work because the other person is not cooperating with me. That's why it's hard work. No.
We make it about the other person.
We make it about the other person, but it is hard work in the sense that we need to be more present to the relationship and the way it changes and how our needs and expectations are changing over time.
Mm-hmm. So then that boils down to the fact that the most important relationship that we need to work on is the relationship with ourselves, to know thyself.
True. But to know oneself means to become aware of what we are fighting with ourselves, what we like about ourselves. Most relationships externally are mirrors or reflections of our own self. That is, if I like something within myself and then I see it in somebody else, I like it in them. If I don't like it in myself, a quality or an emotion or a view or an action, a behavior, when I see it in other people, I try to change them, or I am impatient with them. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we have a value system which doesn't go along with somebody else's behaviors and their value system. So what we are fighting is for our value system, and we try to change the other person to suit our value system, or we try to change the other person to suit what makes us comfortable. Mm-hmm. Often people tell the other, I want you to change because it makes me uncomfortable. Or they don't say it makes me uncomfortable. They say, you make me uncomfortable. So I want you to change. So there is a lot of trying to change the other that happens unconsciously and sometimes even consciously in our relationships. Mm-hmm. Let me share with you an example of a couple who attended a retreat with me many, many years ago. And it was a retreat for more than 100 people, so it was a big group and it was a 3-day event. On the first day when I was starting, this couple walked up and then the wife told me, this is my husband, he didn't want to be here, but I brought him here because this will be helpful for him. And she said, he is always angry and short-fused and I want him to change that. Then the man didn't look interested. So anyway, I said like, okay, let us see. Through the 3 days, he was sitting in the back and he was half the time sleepy and he doesn't seem to pay much attention. And the lady was getting more and more nervous around that. And she was indicating to me like, do something. I couldn't do much. So the 3 days pass, they leave. And then I come back to the same city 1 year later for another retreat. And then I find the same couple there. And I ask her, oh, now you are here. Is he still angry? And she said, no. He's completely changed after the last retreat with you. He's become very soft, very mild-mannered, and all that is. And I said, oh, wow, that is amazing. So all is good. Why are you here? And she said, he's become too soft. I don't like him like this. I want him to be a bit more manly and stronger and taking control. Now, I looked at the man and he had no clue what she was talking about. And he just shrugged and he looked at me like, I don't know what to do. So then I told him like, okay, you can have your seat. And then I told her, I think you should pay more attention to this retreat. Because
the retreat is for you, not for your husband.
Exactly. I want you to pay more attention to yourself than to him. Because what she is fighting, this is what happens to many of us. It is not just a man, woman, wife, husband, but in any relationship, whether it is a man or a woman, we get caught up in these places where we have an expectation where we think, if you change that little part of you, then it will make me comfortable, I will be happy. Then when they change that part of it, then we start zeroing in on something else that would make us uncomfortable. And then if you only change that little part of it, then I would become much more comfortable. So the whole exercise is never ending unless there is a greater awareness and acceptance. Because it is not only that the other person can change the way we want them to. In most cases, the other person cannot change the way we want them to. What appears so easy and normal for me could be completely alien to somebody else. Let us take an example here. Take a couple. One person has grown up in a family where everyone is physically hugging, laughing, and then there is a lot of physical contact in the family. So that is the way they grew up. So love, expressing love means touch and feel and everything. The other person could have grown up in a family where touching is taboo. So you're not supposed to come very closer. Nobody hugs. And then, if at all you get like, oh, well done. That is the best appreciation that you could have got. You put these two people together. Of course, they can get attracted because one is attracted, the outgoing person is attracted by the calm, silent demeanor of the other person. And then that person is attracted by the outgoing personality of the first person because they need somehow the hugs and the touch. This person needs, maybe they are afraid of too much being touched. So when they come together, initially all is hunky-dory, everything is beautiful because each one gets to explore the other personalities and everything. Slowly over time, for the person who is not used to physical touch so much, it becomes too much. Like, why? And then the other person may ask, like, give me a hug. Why? I'm not feeling like a hug.
Yeah, and for the hugger, it might seem common sense. This is what you're saying. It's like, why is it so difficult to give me a hug? But for the one who is not used to it, it's a big effort.
Exactly.
This is what you are saying.
Yes.
And it goes actually... Sure that you gave up to now examples regarding couples, but it spreads in all the relationships that we have with the boss, with the colleague, with our kids, with neighbors.
Yes.
And then we have this saying like, how could he? Why? I don't understand. For example, I don't understand why this person does this or that, and we have this because we have somehow the same standards and also double standards.
Correct.
It's either you should be like me. If I'm a hugger, you should be a hugger. But on the other hand, if I don't like something about myself, I project it on you. So then I have double standards.
Yes, it is clearly double standards. And also here, this is so common, as you say, even in a parent and child relationship. At some stage when they become teens, and then the parent-child relationship undergoes a huge shift. Because till then, hugging and kissing the child is pretty normal for the parent. And then at some point, the child says, like, don't come closer to me. And then, respect my space. So this is part of growing up.
Yeah, and at least I felt very bad when this happened. I felt rejected.
Exactly.
I suffered.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's not just you. Many parents and many people going through that phase of life would feel rejected, and then suddenly their love language and their ability to connect is cut off. So instead, if you sit back in the older way of looking at it, my child, I should be behaving this way, or they should be relating to me in this particular way, then the relationship goes through a lot of struggle. If we slowly emerge out of that and then try to discover this new child that you have, who is herself or himself going through so many changes, if you can recognize and connect to this new child, which is not that easy because we are so used to the older one, and then the newer one is not fully formed yet, because one day the child talks to you like a child, the next day or in 2 hours it talks to you like an adult. So they are confused, we are confused, but this is a stage. So, and as you navigate through this stage, without trying to distill it and fixate upon anything, slowly the identity of that person evolves and becomes an adult. And then the identity that we carry about the person also evolves and then gets fixated on an adult. And an adult changes lesser, not as much as compared to a teenager going through that phase of life. But even then, now we have some locus standi about where that person is, some expectations that we can hold. Even then, we should be careful that we don't get stuck in those places. So the common problem in relationship is whenever there is an discomfort, disappointment, we try to change the other person first. Because that's the easiest way. If only you stop doing that one thing, I will be all good. But it is so easy to say and very difficult to do. That's where first challenge comes. Some people go about it in a different way. If they are not powerful enough in a relationship, what they do is they try to change themselves to adjust to the situation or to the expectation of the other person.
Either I'm expecting you to change. If I'm in a powerful position, I have the right to be treated such and such. Or if I don't dare to ask you this, then I shrink myself so that I fit in to your scenario, your behavior, to adapt to you.
It can be in an unhealthy way in many cases because people suppress their own needs, suppress their own desires, suppress their own ways of expressions. And then they want to adapt into that situation. So many people are afraid of creating trouble in a relationship. I don't want to create trouble. I just want things to be in a status quo so that it's all moving smoothly and it's all moving well. So when they go into that mindset, they suppress their own needs.
And what comes to mind now listening to you is that, me personally, I can be both ways, right? I mean, it's not, we don't have only one way of tackling relationships. It's either I'm adapting or I can be demanding.
True.
Or healthy relationships, of course. So it's, I don't think that neither of us on this planet have one way of tackling.
Yes, you're right. Because we have, in different relationships, we engage differently.
Exactly.
We see people who are very, not at all demanding in a work scenario, and then they go home and then they become this big person who is trying to control everyone. So, and vice versa. So these are all different behavioral patterns we create in different relationships. So
in a different life circumstances.
In a different life circumstances, in a different settings where our needs are different. So it is really, really important for us to understand how we are constantly, very easily, every day in our any relationship, we think like, no, it's so easy, you must change. Or I should change. So change is not the solution, because by trying to change the other person, we are trying to fix them into our view of the world, our view of what it should be.
That is one. And adapting to the other person is also not recommended, because we then cut parts of ourselves.
Correct.
So I guess that the obvious way to address healthy relationships is to express, not to repress, to express how we feel, to express our needs, to express how your attitude affects me.
True. See, this is usually a go-to solution that is recommended in many places. But I would be careful in that too, because often in the name of expression or expressing themselves, people hurt each other. And then they say like, oh, I'm right and you are wrong. And they get fixated in the I'm right, you are wrong place. So that means all their expressions are rather darts, that are thrown at the other person. To express it in a considerate manner, one should first resolve their emotions. The problem is many often, if you see in any interaction where there is a conflict, what people throw at each other are emotions. I'm angry, I throw my anger at you. You are upset, you throw your upsetness at me. So we keep throwing these things at each other, and everyone becomes defensive in that. After a point, nobody learns. Everyone becomes defensive. Defensive people are always in conflict. One becomes offensive, then they go back. The other person becomes offensive at some other stage. So then they say, oh, our relationship is a battle constantly. I have to defend myself all the time because this person is trying to dominate me or trying to control me. How many people I have worked with who come up with this, I feel controlled by this person. Then you talk to the other person, they too feel the same. I feel controlled by this person. This person, maybe one person controls in an overt way, the other person controls in a covert way, but they do play this game. So it is very important. Even expression, I would say, is secondary. What comes first is handling one's emotions within oneself. That is a wide-ranging topic, and we will be covering it in one of our other podcasts as well, on how to actually handle emotions and how to work with them. And in many of my retreats and courses also, we address that at length and in depth. So, but that is the first step, and then followed by a healthy expression of what they want and where they are. And that is really, really important. We all have fundamental needs. I want to be loved. I want to be respected. I want to be a somebody. I want to be treated fairly, considerately. So these are normal human expectations. I want to be happy. So in any form of relationship, we enter into a relationship only from these expectations. We are friends because somehow you are fulfilling some of my needs and I'm fulfilling some of your needs. Even though we have actually physically met after 12 years and then we connect online more often. But the relationship rests on some of our needs being fulfilled in one way or the other.
Okay.
What happens in much closer relationships are people also get fixated on how my needs must be fulfilled. It is not just my needs must be fulfilled. It's also in what manner, in what way my needs must be fulfilled. This is what I call, these are expectations. Okay. I use the word expectations here. So I have my needs. I want to be loved, but then I have a strict system of how I want to be loved.
And unfortunately not communicated, because few of us are aware of how we want to be loved or treated. I mean,
yes, we ourselves may not be that much aware, and even if we are aware, we may not communicate, and even if we communicate, the other person may not find it easy to meet our expectations in that way. If you go back to the hugging, not hugging couple, one person says like, what, all I want is 7 hugs a week, and each hug should be for 45 seconds, and that's what I want. The other person, they hear you, but then the moment you say hugs, their whole body freezes, and then they feel like that's the most uncomfortable part of my day, and it's going to be really, why can't I sit in front of you, smile at you, and tell you that I love you forever? Why do you want to make me touch you and then go through that whole exercise? So for the person too, sitting in front of somebody, looking into their eyes and saying I love you is the best expression of love that they can share. And they are extremely comfortable with it. While for the person number one, that is like, so you're still distant. You don't want to come closer.
Okay, so then what is the way? Which is the way? Because I guess that we all know the problems.
Oh, we know the problems, but we don't want to see the problems. The problem is that, as we are talking about all this, people would nod their heads because they know like, yeah, I know. But they don't know it intensely. This is where I go back to awareness. People think, I know I have a problem, doesn't translate actually into complete awareness of the problem. But people are, or many of us are impatient. Like, give me the solution, please. What should I do next? I would say, watch it, observe the actions, observe how you are trying to change the person, observe how you are trying to impose your expectations on the other person, observe how you are not receiving the love that is given, or respect, or whatever form is given to you by the other person in the way they know. If we watch these things, we will also recognize that I am actually struggling and I am also fixated. So when the awareness gets into these places that I'm struggling, I want it, but I'm not able to get it, and I am fixated on how I want it. With that awareness, what opens up is we would open up to our needs more than the expectations. If I want food and I'm fixated extremely on only eating a pasta, or I'm going hungry, I'm going to be starving. And if the other person is an Indian who doesn't know how to cook pasta and who doesn't like pasta, I'm going to really be starving. And then I will be blaming. But the other person, on the other hand, would say, I've cooked 10 different dishes, but then all he wants is pasta and I cannot stand it.
Okay.
So I should open myself to how I'm fixated as my awareness opens up. But I want food, and I want to have the food that the person is trying to offer me. So this is where appreciation of one's way of communication, everything comes into play. And then, so appreciation and recognition of the other person makes them less defensive and then more recognized. When they are more recognized, at one point they would say, okay, I don't like pasta, but for you, I would, cook that pasta because I love you, because you give me that space.
Or I'm not a hugger, but because of you, yeah. So it's like what I get out of what you said up to now is that for having good relationships with others, we have to have a good relationship with ourselves. And it boils down to being aware of, I would say, our own rigidity in our expectations, and we have certain ways that we would like to be treated or treat others, and to just observe and appreciate whatever love language the other has to offer, whether it's our kids, our work.
In all relationships. Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a very good step. When we open ourselves to that, we also open ourselves to have multiple different kinds of experiences and different kinds of receiving love and respect and appreciation and significance, and all those needs come flooding. So such a person who can receive in whatever way or form it is given is always nourished. So a nourished person is not petty, because the more they are nourished, if I'm having a lot of food and a lot of things, and I'm going to share with others more. So this is the way we can actually open up. It reduces a lot of insecurity in relationships. In today's world where there are micro families and then people are stuck, one to one, and all their needs are supposed to arise from only this person, in many cases people say you should be my support, you should give me my love, you should give me meaning, you should give me everything pretty much in my life. And that is a huge burden to be imposed upon just one person who is not different from us. Mm-hmm. So that is the pressure under which many relationships are sagging, because people find it that they have to be pretty much so many things. And this is one challenge of our families becoming smaller and smaller, and our relationships moving into smaller circles. So this is people who have a wider circle of relationships, people who can engage with different spaces and in different forms, actually get more nourishment in different areas. And those are the happier people. Even if you are an introvert, it doesn't matter.
I was thinking about this now.
Exactly. Even if you are an introvert, introverts gain energy from different activities. So they can gain energy by just being by themselves or being in nature.
Exactly.
And So I would say, open all those avenues to receive. So do not get fixated. And the more we get fixated, and which will happen because we are used to it. Somebody gives you love in a particular way 10 times, the 11th time we expect it, but now they've changed. So realize that they have changed. So their way of giving love is different now. Mm-hmm. And the way of receiving love is different now. Okay, once you recognize that, it takes some time to adapt. That is where if we are hurt, if we carry some guilt or hurt or any of those emotions, we need to resolve them first. And then start listening. I'm introducing a word here. To listen, to get to know them, what is happening in them. Simultaneously, going to your point, to listen and to know what is happening in me. As we go through both this kind of listening, this is the phase of re-evaluating our relationship and position where we are. Mm-hmm. Once that re-evaluation happens, then we enter into action. Right perception happens. Again, that right perception is perception relating to the present. Is it the same way for the next 10 years? No. Maybe for the next 6 months, maybe for the next year. Then again, after a year, we somehow re-evaluate. You don't need to sit together and talk about it. No, it's an internal exercise for each individual as well. If you can sit and talk about it, well and fine. But otherwise, it's an internal exercise. We evaluate our judgments, our ways of looking at it, and where we are getting hurt repeatedly or where we are feeling disappointed. And then we look at those aspects and then we become aware. Right perception emerges, right action emerges. Mm-hmm. This is how we go about resolving conflicts in relationships and mainly building healthier ones.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Rajesh. Any other things to add, or we can close this topic for now?
I think, what I would add here is first, be gentle with yourself a little bit. And then so that it will translate into being gentle with the other person. Often in our clamor to get our needs fulfilled, or in the fear that our needs may not get fulfilled, we put a lot of pressure upon ourselves and others. Essentially, people are not that bad. People are more self-centered. I'm not saying selfish, but more self-centered. That means I want some of my needs to be fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so I'm basically looking after myself. whether individually or in a group.
Mm-hmm.
So, and each individual is doing the same. So that's why I would say, recognize that part. Why not? As much as I am struggling to find what I want, the other person is also struggling to find and fight for what they want. It is much easier. Let me wrap it up with an analogy, with a story, a little bit. A person dies and he goes up, and then he goes to what they call Saint Peter or somebody in Christianity, and then says where am I going? But before I go wherever, heaven or hell, I want to have a tour of the places. And then the angel or whoever is there, it takes them okay, I'll show you a tour. So first they go through a whole place. It's all in gold. It's all beautiful and everything, a lot of food and everything. And then he says, wow, what is this place? Oh, this is hell. Oh, really? And it's so beautiful? Yes, it is. And all the food? Yes, you can eat whatever you want. Then we take to the next place. It's similarly beautiful. It's full of gold and all the stuff and all the food stuff. What is this place? Heaven. There is not much difference between hell and heaven. Oh, there is one difference though. You have all this food. In hell, they keep these big spoons, which are really unwieldy, 3-foot long spoons. But in heaven, do you have normal spoons? No. In heaven too, you have 3 feet long spoons. Then what is the difference? Come, I will show you. In hell, everyone is trying to use that 3-foot spoon to somehow get the food to their mouth. In heaven, they have found a way where they use that spoon to feed the person in front of them.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Where they learn...
Speaking about self-centeredness.
Speaking about self-centeredness.
Mm-hmm.
When you recognize, when you realize, and when you listen to the other person and recognize that their needs fundamentally are not different from mine. I want to be safe, they want to be safe. I want to be loved, they want to be loved. I want to be somebody important in someone's life, they want to be important. They want to be respected, I want to be respected. When we go to the fundamentals of how we are not different from each other in our fundamental needs, when that recognition happens, everyone relaxes in a relationship and everyone can be more flexible than they are presently.
Okay. Yeah, very nice story. I didn't know it. Thank you, Rajesh, for sharing your wisdom on relationships.
Yes, I wish people would start with this point about how they are trying to change the other and how they are fixated on their expectations and not focusing on their overall needs. So once we work through this, and primarily also on the hurts that we are caught up in, which makes us lose perception or perspective of the situation. So these are the steps. In further courses, in further interactions, and other podcasts as well, we'll be discussing more in detail.
Okay, great. Looking forward to it. Thank you guys for following us, for watching this episode. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe to Mindfulness and Beyond and Întrebări care ne schimbă viața. Hopefully this is an episode full of wisdom and tips, solutions, inspiration for all of your relationships. Enjoy your day and see you in the next episode. Bye.